Hey everyone, it's Jessica and welcome back. I hope you have been enjoying the Kindred Stamps December release. In this video, I get to play with the I Need Space stamp set. And this is a huge one. This is a 6x8. You get a ton of characters and some really fun sentiments. I was leaning more towards making some Valentine's Day cards, but really these sentiments would work good for many different occasions. So I'm going to start off with some Canson watercolor paper that I had already spritzed with clean water. Then I'm going to start dropping some paint onto it. And I'm just letting the colors mix, and then I'm going to dry in between. I wanted these to be really saturated with color, so I'm going to go in with a second layer and just intensify some of those areas. For this background, I decided to use that bright blue color. I don't do this with all of the backgrounds, but they all have a similar look in the end, so it didn't really make much of a difference. So I have a towel and I use that to lift up some of that blue watercolor paint. Then I go ahead and dry that. And I'm going to use some Distress Oxide ink in black soot to add the black over the top of all that color. And then I can spritz it with my Distress Sprayer. That'll lift up some of that blank ink and show more of the color underneath. I want those really large droplets. I like those. Also, with galaxy backgrounds, you normally would splatter it with white paint of some sort. For these ones, I will do that in the end, but I also tried to splatter it with some colored paint to see what would happen. And I really like the results. That seafoam green one really shows up on these darker backgrounds. So I used those three colors, the pink, the bright blue, and the seafoam green. And then I also used some of the white shimmer paint in this set. It's not a very opaque paint at all, so that just adds a little bit of shine. At the end of this, I do add a lot of white splatter to these. I'm going to work these in sets of 2. This one I'm trying more primary colors and just seeing what will happen. And for this one I used a lot of more oddball colors, something that I probably wouldn't have directly gone to when making a galaxy background, but in the end they all have a similar feel to them, so it really didn't matter what I did to these. I also tried just using the watercolor black paint in this set as my darker layer, and that worked just fine. I also went in with some Distress ink in black soot, and I had the same results. As you can see, I splattered them all. I think the Distress ink and the Distress Oxide ink lift up a little easier when I had splattered them with clean water, but that's about the only difference. And then I added some more of that colored splatter from the watercolor set. And then I dried those with a heat gun. Plus I added some more of that shimmer too. Now I can go in with my Copic Opaque White. This is my favorite medium for white splatter. It's a very true white. You could also use like a white gouache or white acrylic paint. I haven't tried those. This is the one that I've just kind of stuck with. I have this little jar and it's going to last me forever. I tried going in and adding some white star shapes. I didn't like the way that looks, so I got rid of those and just added a lot more larger splatters. But I like my galaxies to have a lot of white splatter paint. So now I can actually start stamping my characters. I'm going to be using some Copic friendly black ink. I'm only going to show just these 2 top ones, the statue looking one and then the little dog. For the rest of them, I actually colored them while watching a movie with my husband, so I didn't record those ones, but I did record the first 2. For the statue looking one, I'm going to be coloring that one in mainly warm grays. I have one E81 marker that I do use. And I'm trying to start off with the darker color and then blend out with the medium and add in the light at the end To darken up the crevices, I added some coloring with a darker gray Prismacolor pencil and then blended those out with some softer gray colors. I really like the way that it looked on the little dog. I thought that this was just easy to add some highlights and definition to your stamp image's hair. So these are all the markers that I used. And then I also had the pencils mixed in too. I'll have a list down below of the exact colors that I used if you're interested. After I spent way too long trying to fussy cut these out, I used a memento marker to darken all those edges. The stamp images I think just look better with a black marker around the edges, especially when you cut right up to the stamp image line. So here I got to have some fun. I laid out all of my backgrounds, pick and choose which character I wanted to go where, which sentiments I wanted to go which character, and then added in some scrap pieces of cardstock. Just a good way to use up some of those scraps. I'm going to do some heat embossing, and for all of them I'm going to be using white embossing powder. I do go ahead and use my Embossing Buddy beforehand to powder up that cardstock. That way there is no stray embossing powder that sticks to places that I don't want it to be. And then I can heat set that embossing powder. So going back to the backgrounds, after the white splatters have dried, I'm going to run all of these through my Big Shot using a rectangle die. That way it's super easy to get them the same size, and I get the nice clean edges too. Since I was going with a Valentine's Day theme, I used a heart die to die cut a heart shape out of all of the backgrounds. I'm going to have it off-centered a little bit. It's more going to be off to the right. They're all going to be hanging off the backgrounds just a bit. I am going to save those scrap pieces of the hearts that were cut out, the negative pieces, for the inside of the card for later. Now I can start building these cards. I'm using my ATG gun to adhere the background to some Neenah Solar White 110 pound top fold card bases, and then some liquid glue to adhere all the characters to that right hand side of the hearts. Then I use the same dry adhesive to add all of the sentiments. I do cut them down as I'm going, and then some of them I add a flag at the top left. Some of them have multiple strips, and some of them, the sentiments have flag ends. So I'm just kind of mixing and matching and making each one, but they all have a very similar style. So don't forget to check out the link below to my blog post where I have much more information, and I am a part of the Kindred Stamps December release blog hop. So make sure you're commenting and hopping along. So I thought the one that says, "You can trust me," would be really fun to put on the inside with your heart. So it says, "You can trust me with your heart." And that makes it a little more Valentine's Day-ish. And I know I'm going to be using that spoiler. This is a birthday card for so many different things. It would be so much fun to put on an envelope of a birthday card, or just make multiple cards using that sentiment. And then I thought this one with the little doggy needed an extra strip of paper. I didn't like how wide that green strip was, so I added some blue to it. And then here I am adding that negative die cut heart piece to all of the insides of the card. And there you have it. I have 6 cards all ready to go. I think 4 of them are perfect for Valentine's Day, or really any occasion. I look forward to seeing what all of you create using this stamp set. So make sure you are posting in the Facebook fan club. Alright guys, that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye! Meh, meh.